If you're going to build something from nothing, you've got to know what really works. I took a $1,000 loan and built a $5 billion business, and now I make smart investments in new businesses on Shark Tank. This is Barbara Corcoran, and you're listening to Business Unusual, presented by OnDeck Business Loans. This week on Business Unusual, I'm going to be answering all of the great questions you guys keep sending me in on business, life, how to move forward, how to jump over obstacles. Come on, I'm good at it, and I want to share my advice. But first, I'm talking today about how not to spoil your kids. There are a lot of privileged kids out there, and believe me, they are so easy to spoil as a parent. I've learned a few lessons raising my two kids that I'd like to share with you. When my son and daughter were born, I prayed every day that they would find a struggle that they would have in life. Why? Because I learned all of my lessons by struggling and finding solutions to the problems I encountered. But, of course, if you're a kid that has parents that have the means to protect you, take care of you, introduce you to everything, make sure your position in life is secure, they don't hit a lot of struggle, and that's a problem. And guess what? God heard my prayers. When both Tommy and Kate were born, by first grade, I knew they were dyslexic and they were going to struggle for the rest of their life learning to read and write. And that they really did. But they persisted and found through their persisting that they developed their own self-confidence. And that's exactly what I was hoping for. I was less worried about them reading than I was worried about them building self-confidence. Next, I always want my kids to believe that they can work and provide for themselves. So I'm just a believer in kids having jobs early. My daughter Kate is 13, but she's been working at a dog spa grooming animals for the last 3 years. I can't begin to tell you how much self-confidence she gets from her little job, much more than she ever will find in a classroom. Another struggle my son had when he hit 14 was that he had horrific acne, and he went from being the cool kid on campus that all the girls adored and the men loved and the super jock to being the ugly kid that nobody wanted to look at. That was a horrific experience for him, but he came out of it with such great values, knowing what it's like to have a liability that you can't get around. Knowing what it feels like to have empathy for someone else who is injured or going through something that they can't change. Boy, did he learn a lot from that chapter in his life. Here's the skinny. If you're an affluent parent, it makes you feel all the time that you should do the most for your kids. And I get it, I'm one of those too. But I believe you should let kids fail. When I would see anything that my kids would struggle to, intuitively I wanted to jump in and make a rescue, help them out, give them special training, introduce them to the right contacts, but I always waited and laid back because I wanted them to feel the pain of the drop so that they could learn how to pick themselves up versus having their parents pick them up. And you know what I got as a result of that? 2 confident kids who know how to pick themselves up. So all you helicopter parents out there, get out of the way. Let your kids learn who they're capable of being. You're listening to Business Unusual with Barbara Corcoran, presented by OnDeck Business Loans. Here's a company all business owners should know about: OnDeck Business Loans. OnDeck delivers financing for small business owners in as little as 24 hours, with term loans up to $500,000 and lines of credit up to $100,000. Their average loan is about $57,000. OnDeck products are always tailored to your specific business need with lots of loan and payback options. Their simple process saves you time, and because they have less strict requirements than the banks, they approve many different businesses and do it faster than traditional lenders. I've known the gang at OnDeck for years now, and I can tell you they're the real deal. OnDeck has lent over $10 billion to more than 80,000 small business owners. Thousands of them have reviewed OnDeck, giving them a 9.8 out of 10 rating on Trustpilot and an A+ grade with the Better Business Bureau. So make your way over to OnDeck.com/Barbara for a free consultation with a small business loan specialist to find out exactly which loan best suits your company. OnDeck.com/Barbara. And now it's time to answer your questions on Business Unusual. Vincent on Instagram asks, I have terrible credit. Can I still get a loan, or am I doomed? Oh my, Vincent, it's not that dire, believe me. That depends if it's your personal credit or your business credit that's terrible. Most traditional lenders use your personal credit as a barometer for your business health, which sounds a little wacky, I know. But online lenders like OnDeck usually look beyond your personal credit. Online lenders factor in how much revenue you have, how long you've been in business, how many customers you have, which I think is a fairer shake. I'd encourage you to look at places like OnDeck or others in the online lending space to get a good sense of what your options are. When you visit ondeck.com/Barbara, you can get a free consultation, which I'm sure will be helpful, and the advice about how to kick off your financing search on firm footing, which is where you want to be. But before you do, Vincent, make sure you're using a loan for a business expense that will generate revenue for your business, because that's the whole idea to being in business.
Hi, Barbara. This is Natasha in Dallas, Texas. I was wondering about the issue of accountability and ownership. I think it really does slow down the pace of any progress. How do you motivate people who would rather sit in the shadows and hold on to status quo rather than push things forward?
Natasha, it sounds to me like you're working for a big business where there's little accountability, and so that becomes the norm of the day. When you don't have someone as a supervisor, boss, leader, whatever you wish to call them, telling you specifically where they want to go, what they need your help in getting there, and when they need it for, with that kind of clarity, you automatically breed the reverse, which is people waiting for orders, using it as an excuse not to really do, and not taking claim or disclaim for anything they're involved in. I would say you're probably in a company with the wrong company culture, and unless they can move you to the boss position and you can all change it right away, chances are you ought to be looking for a new job. That's not what you wanted to hear, but I told you straight. There you go. And that's all the questions we have time for today. If you have a question, tweet it at Barbara Corcoran, and I may just answer it on a future episode. You've been listening to Business Unusual with me, Barbara Corcoran, presented by OnDeck Business Loans. Come back next week to hear more steps and missteps I took on the path to success on Business Unusual. Business Unusual is part of the iHeartRadio Podcast Network. Be sure to follow Business Unusual on iHeartRadio or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.